Quick question, everyone. If you have to hire a, a React engineer with a 3 years experience, would you hire somebody who has the 3 years experience on paper or someone who has pushed code to GitHub 50 times in the last 1 month? Welcome back to Tech Vibes with Shaphy. Today we will prove why GitHub is better representation of skills than a resume. We will build a tool that will prove it to you.
So, as a hiring manager, the hardest part is signal quality. Resumes are self reported stories. GitHub is proof of work, but sourcing manually takes hours.
Exactly. So today we will show you two quick workflow. First one is we will use Perplexity to find qualified developers on GitHub in minutes. And second vibe is we will use Claude to vibe code your own GitHub sourcing and scoring application. And name, let's get directly to the vibe.
Yep, sure thing. So I have some items that I've pre-prepared. So let's start with the prompt and then get going. So is my Perplexity window visible? Yep. So the prompt essentially has 3 steps. First one is we are just setting on the expectations on what are the information that would be required to analyze a candidate. The second step is a deep research and web search tool. So essentially there is 2 ways to go with the GitHub evaluation. First one is through searching Google and finding the GitHub candidates. The second is GitHub's own APIs. So we'll be utilizing both here. And step 3 is just to confirm on the response steps, which is how do we want the response and what is the format. So for ease, I've just added a JSON here, which covers all the areas that we'll need for evaluation.
Go ahead and run this. Yeah, let's see what you get.
Yeah. So once I run this, the prompt will come back with asking few questions, which is like, okay, let's say the role is React and Node.js, JS2. It's for a full stack role.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these are optional. So only the skills are mandatory. The rest of the items you can leave out if you don't want to specifically say something about that.
Got it.
Well, that's solid. We can instantly see active developers with real work history.
That's right. So name, let's see how long it takes to run the Perplexity.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just fill in the information. Just give me a minute. Okay, let's say target number of candidates is 10. So the reducing the numbers would mean we'll get a result faster.
So what happens behind the screen?
Essentially, initial step that they would take us go search for users who are matching the skill and then
Mm-hmm.
go evaluate their repositories and then come back with that ranking list.
So the
So
Perplexity does all of.
yep. So when we put Perplexity in the search only mode, it goes on the surface level and evaluates. So there are two other options that you can put through. One is that research capability and the other is a project. So depending on how complex you want the role to be evaluated, you can choose between them. And always the web search is the fastest.
I see. So Perplexity merges the GitHub details and the whatever the data that's retrieved from the web. It's not just blindly scraping it. Rather, it's kind of understand the context and connects them together.
Yeah. So essentially, you have 10 candidates now. All of these people are from Dallas, Texas, and also satisfies our requirement.
Very good. Now the next step is maybe use those profiles and then go find the contacts details, try to link them into LinkedIn. So you do the next outreach aspects for these candidates.
Yeah. So in the prompt that we have generated, we are also giving a very lightweight outreach message,
Okay.
which is something
Okay.
that you can use or refine further on.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that's very nice. Now let's move on to our next vibe. Here, instead of using Perplexity, we are building an application ourselves. That's the idea. So if you're familiar with vibe coding, basically you use tools like Claude, Codex, Cursor, Replit Extra to build an application based on a specification. Here we are using Claude in the Cursor, Claude as LLM in the Cursor to build this application. And if you're not necessarily very keen or expert on vibe coding, you can watch some quick start videos. It's relatively easy for a non-technical person to get started. So let's see how we can do this. So typically, Naeem, in your experience, how long it takes to build an application like this?
10 minutes.
Yeah, but sometimes it may, my experience is when I built my first app in Claude Code, it took me 2 hours. The second time, I got it done in 30 minutes. This it depends on the complexity of your application or
Yep.
the requirements that you have. Okay, so
So
let's.
roughly something that a developer takes an hour or two to develop is typically done in 2 to 3 minutes. That is how
Yeah,
we are evaluating it.
that's very cool. Okay, so let's go directly into how it's done. So can you walk us through the steps?
Yep, sure. So let me share the screen again. Okay, essentially, this is a prompt that we have created for vibe coding. Again, this
Mhm.
is developed with some basic idea given to ChatGPT. So you can go ahead and ask ChatGPT or Claude or whichever is your favorite LLM and just say the shell of what you want and then ask it to generate a detailed prompt with technical details so that it can be given for Cloud Code to build faster. So the first part is the requirements of the project, which essentially covers writing and ranking the repository, personalized outreach messages. Then all API keys needs to be just stored in session so that it doesn't get leaked or anything. And technical requirements is basically telling which frameworks to use so that it's easier to manage and deploy. And acceptance criteria is a standard acceptance criteria that we use, which is more like all the functionalities should be working. We need this API set up this way, things of that sort. And for additional guidance, we have also added a personalization for the outreach messages. And once this is done, we can switch over to Cloud Code on Cursor or some tool that you like. Even Cloud's on CLI is good enough. And once that prompt is put through, it essentially goes through a cycle and brings you some results, which again can be 100% there or probably somewhere around 70 to 80% there. You might need to have some additional tweaks that are given into as prompt. But in our case, I think we are good with the initial result. This is the front end UI. You can have scripts that are given in
Mhm.
and based on that it'll find candidates. So let's say JavaScript is by default set as the option, but so let me check for TypeScript and then React.
Okay,
And again,
all this is
yeah,
automatically generated by the Claude.
yep. So this entire directory structure was generated by Claude. We haven't done a single line of code manually. It's
I see.
all this chain of prompt.
So, what about security for API keys?
So all the API keys that are entered here are just kept for that session. So once you refresh, all those keys are lost. So it will just use that on a real time basis, and then we don't store that.
It doesn't get stored anywhere in the file or database. Okay, so let's see the results, how the application performs.
Okay. Now let's search. Takes a little bit of time, and then yeah, you get first person is JDX. He has an overall score of 74 with TypeScript and JavaScript matched. He has
Okay,
578 repos and 3,200 people following him, which means he's pretty good at what he does.
that's pretty good.
The
Man, if we
second,
have to do this manually, it takes forever. I mean, you have to go through so many repos in GitHub and find the people who are good at your skills and in all of that. So this is just done in minutes once you have the application ready.
But recruiters will ask, can we trust AI scores?
okay, so all these scores are based on parameters that we are setting. So when you prompt for getting this generated, you can specifically ask for the params that you are concerned about.
Okay, excellent name. This is really cool. My thought process on using AI for recruitment purposes to not to replace recruiters, rather empower them with tools. So AI does all these clerical tasks, repetitive in nature. So let's do a quick recap on what we accomplished today. First one is we used Perplexity to find developers fast from GitHub. So that's the prompt that you can directly use in Perplexity. Second one is we have developed a small application using Claude that can find the talent and score the repos and personalize the outreach message for that talent.
My three takeaways would be that resumes show intent and GitHub shows proof, and that the second would be combine Perplexity for research and Cloud for reasoning to move forward from raw data to ranked signals. And the third one would be Keep humans in the loop for content and fit. And one caveat is always verify identity and consent before outreach.
Yep, and you could also enrich profiles with Clay or some other tool of that sort. So I've added that as well in the thing so that you understand who you are reaching out to before we do that.
Yeah, very good. So the full prompt or the markdown files for Claude, all of them will be available in our show notes. So if you are a talent acquisition leader or a founder, run this playbook and share what you see. And thanks for joining us for Tech Vibes with Shaphy.